Morning, everybody. Marcus Conte reporting on what we already know. Welcome to the program. We're going to talk about the what is now becoming clear. I don't want it to spin out of control. I'm an American citizen who likes the First Amendment and freedom of speech, and I don't want to let this one slip away. I don't want anybody to forget and/or not understand who exactly is responsible for all this Twitter pressure. Now, even a jackass like me, for example, can figure this out. Right? When government pressures social media, and those social media people seem to not only go along with what the FBI says, but agree with it, there you have a perfect storm for overt censorship. And as I've always said, Twitter didn't act in a vacuum and didn't act solely on the pressure of the FBI and other government agencies like the Department of Homeland Security. They did it in conjunction with that pressure. They already hated Trump. They already hate and/or believe the middle of the country is full of white supremacist, racists, homophobes, right? Gun-slinging, Christian-loving, dangerous people, right? Now, again, I've been saying it for 2.5 years. I have eyewitness and/or experiential experience with being censored on all of these platforms and/or shadow banned. So I'm vastly equipped to talk about it. But I want to explore if there's any shadow of a doubt in your mind as to what's happening with the Twitter files, if you come away from exploring the Twitter files, what Elon Musk is exposing to the public, if you come away from that thinking that Twitter acted in isolation, acted by itself because they really, really believe these things, and well, they do believe it to some degree, but without the government pressure, they would have never done it, right? And they're clearly not doing it in isolation. We already have Facebook on the record, Mark Zuckerberg. We'll go through all the clips of these characters. Vijaya Gadde at Twitter. Yoel, Roth, also at Twitter. Jack Dorsey at Twitter, right? All these people. What about these people here? Who's doing it here? All right, we're going to find out, it looks like. Holy shit, it's all unraveling, right? The whole censorship ploy. All right, but let's look at the main Stooges as we progress. Main Stooges being Vijaya Gadde, who has been fired from Twitter. Yoel Roth also fired. Jack Dorsey retired. Mark Zuckerberg still going. Mark Zuckerberg is the only one that we have video of visually telling us that the FBI, came to us and said, "Hey man, you gotta censor this shit." So in an effort, effort to make the First Amendment valid again in our country, we're going to explore the various social media psychopaths, for lack of a better term, who think the opposite, that think somehow their intervention and their cooperation with a government agency to censor people's voices is correct and just and verifiable and valid. So we'll look at all that today. And it's a bit of a hodgepodge because there's information all over the place regarding this, but the Twitter files are confirming that the FBI had a boot on the throat of Twitter, without a doubt. So anything Twitter tells you about, they don't shadow ban, they don't shunt conflicting voices, is now unequivocally lie, is misinformation. The very companies that are censoring average Americans for misinformation are in fact the proprietors of the misinformation. Right? My mic stand is moving here. I gotta lock this thing here, man, because it's like working on a swing. I don't know why this thing is not moving. Come on, man, lock, motherfucker. All right. So anyway, good morning, everybody in the chat. Vinny DiMartini in the house. Fear porn is here. Kristen Dome Defender. TJ is here. Weevil Girl. TJ. And everybody else. Casa Philly Camden is here, I saw. And everybody else who's lurking, thank you very much. Josephine. Jim Gerard in the house. Itzy Gooder. Thank you all for joining me and being here. And like I said, I'm just a guy who makes videos, right? A long time ago, I was a famous investigative reporter, fallen from grace because I got kicked off space got put between me and my platform for cyberbullying and hacking and all this other right-wing conspiracy nonsense that doesn't exist. But I'm still here making videos, and it's fun, man. I'm having fun. Where's my thumbnail today? These are your stooges. These are the stooges of our time. Facebook, FBI stooge, confirmed. Twitter, FBI stooge, confirmed. Boo! 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 Woo! Woo! Right here. Not confirmed yet, but I do think it's coming. I could smell it coming down the pipe. Who's next? I would say Google, Apple. Why don't you guys come clean, man? Why don't you come clean? Why do we need an investigation? Why do we need a big conspiracy to know and for you to tell us what you've been doing the whole time? Because again, if you think Twitter's algorithms are sophisticated to weed out conflicting voices and Facebook as well, and not Google, the masters of the algorithm. It's only funny per se. It's not really funny. Fear Porn says, I love how you were considered a right-wing extremist, Marcus. Right. Because again, as I've always said, I'm in the middle. I'll criticize anybody if they make an idiot out of themselves, right? And lie and harm the American public. But yeah, I'm right wing extremist. And during the Bernie Sanders campaign, I was left wing extremist. None of it makes sense anymore. Only the truth makes sense. So my name is Marcus Conte. I have a website, and if you like these types of stories that we do in a lighthearted, comical way, not to harm anybody or not to offend anyone, just simply to talk about the various issues of our time, join me every morning at 9 a.m. We're right here at this moment on YouTube. If YouTube gets the boot on their throat again by the FBI and says, shut these people down, I'll see you later. I'll see you over at D Live for speaking truth. Right. That's what I'm up against. That's what this, quote, reporter is up against. If I talk about these issues, Tim Pool could talk about it all day long. Joe Rogan could talk about it all day long. If I talk about it, I get fucking smashed and squashed and pushed into the perimeter. Right? Really. So every morning at 9 a.m., come to marcusconte.com and you'll know where we are. I stick the live link right here. And right now, as I said, we're on YouTube 1 right now. We have a YouTube 2, and we have D Live as a third. All right, so let's talk about this guy firstly, because this is a big story going on right now. So conspiracy. I'm going to take this story lightly because I half believe it. I don't think Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX.com, a cryptocurrency organization, is that far different. I don't think he's that much different than most of the players on Wall Street, and I'll tell you why. But nonetheless, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Feds charge FTX founder with campaign finance violations. Right? So the feds, who are actively engaging in election suppression by putting the boot on the throat of Facebook, Twitter, those two confirmed, and 99% sure that they did it with Google as well. Right? The FBI that's censoring and shunting down stories based on fake evidence of Russian collusion and other nonsensical conspiracies, those guys are charging fucking Sam Bankman-Fried with 8 counts of election interference, right? Campaign finance irregularity. Right? Same people doing it. The people that are engaging in it are now pointing to Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried as doing it exclusively in a bubble. So look, could you say scapegoat? Could you say throw somebody under the bus already? Right? That's kind of sort of what's happening. I'm not saying that Sam Bankman-Fried didn't do the things that he's being accused of doing. I'm saying that the people that are accusing him of doing the things he's being accused of are the very people doing it, a.k.a. the FBI. So let's read. All right. Sam Bankman-Fried was charged with 8 criminal counts, including conspiracy and wire fraud, for allegedly misusing billions of dollars in consumer funds because the spectacular collapse of the cryptocurrency empire. Now, who else in an active campaign, if you remember 2016, who used upwards of $2 billion, right, took money from anybody who would give it, foreign fucking countries, Saudi Arabia, fucking anybody who would throw money in the coffers, who used that money to advance their own political agenda? Hillary Clinton, under the guise of Bill Clinton and the Democratic DNC. They took the money, right? They commingled all of these funds together, and then they used it for their own political agenda. Right? That's confirmed, right? But when a guy outside of the Beltway does it, 8 counts of criminal conspiracy. Right? I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy, and we'll find out. The indictment unsealed this morning alleges that Bankman-Fried agreed with others to defraud customers of FTX.com by misappropriating those customers' deposits and using those deposits to pay expenses and debts of a secondary research corporation. Commingling funds. Right? That's what Hillary Clinton was right. This goes on all the time. Right? But why this guy? Why now? Because the FBI is under severe, unequivocal, inescapable scrutiny for their election interference during the 2020 election by censoring Twitter, Google, and Facebook. Right? So what do? They turn around and go after fucking Bankman-Fried. Right? You see how that works? So I'm not going to go too deep into the story, but this guy is the guy they're going to throw under the bus. They're going to talk so much about how this guy's evil and bad and involved in campaign finance laws that we write. But the FBI, meanwhile, is censoring mega stories that hit mega Americans and have mega weight in elections. You get my drift? So we'll talk more about this guy as it unfolds. Other story. This is an interesting story too. Ron DeSantis, the great governor of Florida, wants a grand jury to look into how Big Pharma, aka Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, could have engaged in any wrongdoing when they pushed their vaccine on the masses, right? Mandated it through government policy, causing people to lose their jobs and their minds over being forced to get a vaccine. So let's listen to the good Ron DeSantis, and we'll decide if Ron DeSantis is going in the right direction or not.
You know, it is against the law to mislead and to misrepresent, particularly when you're talking about the efficacy of a drug. We see just recently, Florida got $3.2 billion through legal action against those responsible for the opioid crisis. And so it's not like this is something that's unprecedented. So today, I'm announcing a petition with the Supreme Court of Florida to impanel a statewide grand jury to investigate any and all wrongdoing in Florida with respect to COVID-19 vaccines. And we anticipate that we will get the approval for that. That will be something that will be impaneled, most likely in the Tampa Bay area, and that will come with legal processes that will be able to get more information and to break.
So there you go. Ron DeSantis going to bat for the American people that live in Florida, at least. Maybe it'll start there. For people who may have been injured by the vaccine. Now that is now no longer conspiracy theory. That is no longer a political opinion. That is a governor of Florida doing it, right? Ron DeSantis for president, right? If I was, I could fall in love with Ron DeSantis if I sat on that side of the fence, and I was attracted to guys like Ron DeSantis. I could fall in love with Ron DeSantis because he's an honest, a handsome politician, and he's doing the right thing for the American people. So we love Ron DeSantis for what he's doing, right? And here, also in COVID-19 vaccine mandate news, Montana law. Montana, the great state of Montana, bars COVID-19 vaccine mandates in healthcare settings. A judge rules is unconstitutional. You tried to ban, right? You tried to bars COVID-19 vaccine. Let's read. A federal judge in Montana has ruled that parts of the state laws preventing discrimination against individuals in healthcare settings based on their COVID-19 vaccination statuses are unconstitutional. So there's a judge in Montana. It's now law. It's unconstitutional, right? So now this is prime. This is a prime case right here for who? The Supreme Court justices to look at the case and declare vaccine mandates unconstitutional, forcing people to take medications that are unproven and unwanted and invalid in their minds, forcing them to take it. Right? So Republican-backed Bill 702 was passed in 2021 by Montana legislation as an anti-discrimination measure. The bill bans employers from mandating that employees get vaccinated or share their vaccine status through an immunity passport. Right? All the things that we need to happen or needed to happen a long time ago are starting to happen slowly but surely. Right? That forcing people to take medication is unconstitutional. My body, my choice. Right? I don't have a problem with you getting an abortion, but millions of people in America do, right? And there is a defense to be made to defend the unborn or the already conceived inside of the mother, right? There is an argument to be made to defend that American citizen that hasn't popped his head out yet. But you cannot make an argument for violating my body, right? There's no fetus growing inside of me. I decide that vaccine is not right for me, regardless of what jackoff at the CDC or some other medical troll says, or some political figure like Dr. Fauci says. The decision as an American citizen under the Constitution is that I get to decide. I get to decide in a free country what I will consume, right? Right? And that's what the laws are starting to reflect, hopefully. We need a law at the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court Justice level to finalize this nonsense about mandates. But let's jump in, right? So the three names I want to explore, there's others, but let's stick with these. What's that? I can't even pronounce her name. Unless I'm reading it, I can't pronounce her name. Vijaya Gadde. We're going to look at Vijaya Gadde. Right? She was the lead attorney at Twitter who served as general counsel. She's a lawyer, right? And lawyers lie. They're paid to lie because they have a certain degree of immunity. No, I'm acting on behalf of my client. Yeah, I'm lying, but I work for the client, and I'm a lawyer, so I can lie, and there's no consequence to that, right? No. See, I'm not. I'm just. I have attorney client privilege. You see how they get around that one? Yeah. You work for fucking Twitter, and you happen to be a lawyer, and now you profess a certain immunity to it. That's why these people don't get carted off to jail, mostly because of lawyer-client privilege. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, anybody with a law degree does this nonsense. But this is who she is. Her top role included handling issues such as harassment, misinformation, and hateful speech. Right? She is known for her involvement in decisions and policies taken by Twitter, such as the approach taken to issue such as harassment and harmful speech and high-profile decisions made by Twitter. On October 27th, she was fired by Elon Musk following the acquisition of Twitter. So you know who she is, right? And Matt Taibbi is doing a great job, right? So Gavita, can't pronounce it. Vijaya Gadde, I should write it down on a piece of paper so I can look at it. Vijaya Gadde is confirmed to be a top Twitter hack who got fired. We're going to look at her. And the other guy is Yoel Roth, right? Yoel Roth, this post about Hunter Biden, says Matt Taibbi at Rolling Stone, this post about Hunter Biden laptop situation shows that Roth not only met weekly with FBI and DHS, but with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So all of these people are left-wing conspiracy theorists, kooks, that are deadly and viscerally afraid of this fictitious right who wants to harm them and kill them and send slaves back to the gallows and erect white supremacy statues all over America, aka founding fathers, and vilify people like Christopher Columbus, right? These people are meeting with the FBI, right? No doubt about it, right? So I just want to confirm, right? Because that is really, in this reporter's view, the only takeaway from the story. Did government put their boot on the throat of the radical left working at Twitter, Google, and Facebook. Did they do it, and did they do it before an election in an effort to slow down the opposition party, which was at that moment the Republican Party and Donald Trump? Did they do it? The answer is yes. Therefore, the FBI is in fact engaging in election interference based on the evidence. Joel Roth, top Twitter guy responsible for the actual censorship, the actual mechanics of the censorship, is telling you in confidential emails that he was working closely with the FBI. That is confirmed. Roth reported to FBI, DHS, and DNI is almost farcical in its self-flagellating tone. We blocked the New York Post Hunter Biden story, then unblocked it. Right? But here you go. You could read it all you want. I'll drop the link in the chart. All that matters is the big picture. Is that did these guys act? Did these super left kooks act under the pressure of the FBI? The answer is yes, they did. They did it in part because the FBI was pressuring them and because they believe the nonsense. They're gaslit to believe the nonsense. And thirdly, they just don't like the far right. They believe the nonsense that Russia's hacking everything, and they believe that Trump, the orange monster, is going to eat their babies. Right? They believe that stuff. So you see how it's a 1-2 punch? Manufacture the consent, vilify Trump for 4 years, then use the FBI to go after the people who believe it at Twitter, Facebook, and Google, and pressure them to censor these stories right before an election. Now, is that interference? Is the use of a government enforcement agency putting the boot on the throat of big business, big technology, where all the people are supposed to be freely speaking? Is that interference? Of course it is. Of course it is. So we know these things, right? We know these things to be true. This is Vijaya Gadde. So let's listen to Joel Roth, super left, young, gay, male, right? Believes Trump's a homophobe, probably. Let's listen.
Donald Trump.
That one I don't think was a mistake.
January 6th.
So it starts on the 6th, but it also starts prior to that.
That's correct.
In the weeks leading up, in the weeks between Election Day and January 6th, Twitter moderated hundreds. I think the final number ended up as like 140 separate tweets from just at Real Donald Trump that violated various policies.
Yes, he was
including
good
the
at that.
integrity policy.
Yeah.
Every morning it was a new tweet.
So create a policy that Trump, by voicing his right. So again, what is the policy that Donald Trump violated? Donald Trump spoke freely, openly to the American people as the president of the United States. And to Yoel Roth, that's a violation of their policy. That's what he's saying, right? It's ridiculous.
Much of it was recirculating some of the same narratives, and all of it was focused on the ultimately false claim that the 2020 election had been stolen.
Okay, in those harsh terms, the 2020 election was stolen. We've now watered that down to say that that government agencies engaged in interference on an epic level. So isn't that the same? Isn't what Trump said that the election was stolen from him in many, many ways? Isn't that the same as saying that interference on an epic level by the FBI to suppress conflicting voices, isn't that stealing? I think it is. I see those two as inseparable.
And so we're going into the events of the 6th, and there's that context. There's the centrality of his account in
So you let him get away with it for a long time. in other words.
Well, we'd been enforcing on it, right? So we restricted the tweets, we put warnings on them, you couldn't like them, you couldn't retweet them, but we didn't.
And there he confirms you couldn't like them, you couldn't retweet them. He's confirming the ban, the shadow banning of people he doesn't like. And why? Why? The ridiculousness of the progressive left right now is to say that Donald Trump had a backdoor to Twitter. No, he didn't have a backdoor to Twitter. He tried to sit them down and try to find out what was going on in there, and they banned him. Remember who got banned? The fucking Joe Biden didn't get banned from Twitter. The president of the United States got banned from Twitter.
Ban him because it was a relevant part of a moment in American politics.
Right.
The events of the 6th happen. And if you talk to content moderators who worked on January 6th, myself included, the word that nearly everybody uses is trauma. We experienced those events, not some of us as Americans, but not just as Americans or as citizens, but as people working on sort of how to prevent harm on the internet. We saw.
See, the problem with Joel Roth, is that most people did not perceive January 6th, the rally that got a little out of hand at the steps of Congress and had spilled over into Congress. Most people in America did not see that as a problem. Most people saw that as democracy in action. Americans swinging American flags, demanding that their government come clean on the conspiracies and the overt election interference that they were seeing, witnessing, and were being victimized by. That's why they showed up. And now we know that. Right? We know that to be true. So Yoel Roth I told you that these people believe it. They're not just saying, oh, we got to win the election, I hate Trump. No, they believe the bullshit. That's one of the bigger problems.
The clearest possible example of what it looked like for things to move from online to off. We saw we saw the way that rhetoric about a stolen election was being mobilized on sites like thedonald.win.
Sure.
We saw the trafficking of this content in the fringe parts of the internet, and we saw people dead in the Capitol.
We saw people dead in the Capitol. How did people die in the Capitol? When a cop shot the fucking girl, what's her name? The girl in the face? Shot the girl in the face that was trying to climb through a window? And with that unarmed, right? Shot her in the face. The only death on January 6th was the killing of a cop. It was the killing of a woman by a cop for, I don't know, look, is climbing through a window peaceful protest? Well, sort of, kind of. You're not supposed to, as police, you're not supposed to shoot people at a political rally, even if it spills over into the halls of Congress. Also remember, nothing inside the Capitol was really damaged other than doors and windows that were in the way of the protesters. They ran through the doors and the windows. So now you know who Joel Roth is. You get a better sense of who he is. Let's listen to Mark Zuckerberg, the great Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, tell you on the Joe Rogan show who came to him to tell him to shut the story down about the New York Post's Hunter Biden story, declaring it a hack, detrimental to the American people. Let's listen to Mark Zuckerberg in his own fucking voice say it, August 25th, 2020. Let's hear it.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York
we
Post.
had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant.
So you remember when Mark Zuckerberg said that back in August? And everybody looked at it and said, oh, you have no proof of that. Right? But Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO for Facebook, Meta, is telling it to you on the Joe Rogan show. Confirmed. Is he lying? Is Mark Zuckerberg lying and saying that the FBI didn't come? Is he making it up? Well, I bet in a year from now, Mark Zuckerberg will have no other choice but to say he made it up. But there you go. That's Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook confirming the FBI came to him, made up a story about Russian hacking, and said, take this story down, right? Because, again, it's election interference. They're interfering with a massive story.
So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true.
Oh, of course. We use third-party fact-checking corporations that are in bed with the DNC, that are in line with the government fucking narrative. It's bullshit, man. I'm telling you, the takeaway from this whole Twitter file story, I keep saying it over and over again, but I want people to realize it, is that in my view, it's the FBI, government. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. If government would stay out of Twitter, Google, and Facebook, you would have a free flow of ideas. Yes, 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 money would pour in, but don't censor people. Don't shut people down for misinformation, vilify them, smear them, defame them as being Russian conspirators.
False. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So there he is. There's Mark Zuckerberg telling you that the distribution of the story decreased. We decreased the story. That's censorship. You're decreasing the story of a reputable newspaper like the New York Post, who, gets some stories wrong, but most of the time they're spot on. And you're decreasing it. You're throttling the New York Post.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
It got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less.
We censored it. We basically censored it. The search speed was reduced. It was less.
So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of
Yes, you do, Mark. You know what percentage? A big percentage.
my head, but it's meaningful. But basically...
It's a meaningful percentage of people got shut down for sharing a story that was truthful because the FBI threatened Facebook and told them that it was a hack to get rid of it on their made-up hack policy.
A lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper-political issue, so depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much, but we weren't sort of as...
Has it ever occurred to you, Mark Zuckerberg, that don't censor it at all? Right? Why don't I got it? Marcus Conte reporting. Marcus Conte reporting on a revelation that's going to solve everybody's problems of censorship in America. Why don't we have a policy on social media, right, that the creator of the speech, when someone speaks on social media, the creator of the speech is the only person legally allowed to take that speech down? Isn't that a good policy? I create my speech. It's protected by the First Amendment, right? I make speech, I put it out there, and only I am allowed to take it down. You don't have a constitutional right to take away my speech, right? Why not do that? You want to be a social media, kingpin. You want people to come to you and socialize. That's the point of social media, right? or you're changing the definition of that as well. No, it's a fucking private company. You see the point, right? Have people, the only person who creates content is allowed to take it down. And then you solve the problem. And now you go one step further and you don't fucking throttle it. You let it search like everything else. So there we go. Whoa, I just solved the problem. And I just gave you the anecdote for the problem. Don't censor people's speech. Only person who could take it down is the person who creates it.
Black and white about it is Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's like very professional law enforcement.
Very professional law enforcement. All right, so now you know Mark Zuckerberg is on the record what he said. Let's listen to these guys over here. Tim Pool does a great job grilling the fucking Vijaya Gadde. Watch this.
And I believe that to be the case.
So your platform restricts speech.
Our platform promotes speech unless people violate our rules.
And
Okay, fair enough. We promote speech unless it violates our rules. There's bias there. And Tim Pool is going to corner her and show her that she is, in fact, biased. That's part of what I'm trying to say here, is that they're not acting, Twitter is not acting solely on its own. The FBI is not acting solely on its own. They're partners in the deal. That's where technology and government have merged. You see the connection there? Watch.
in a specific direction.
In any direction.
But I don't want to say his name. The guy who calls for death gets a suspension. The guy who insinuates death gets a permanent ban.
But Tim, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying, and I feel like you're doing it deliberately. It's not about one particular thing. It's about a pattern and practice of violating our
And you
rules.
have a pattern and practice of banning only one faction of people.
I don't agree with that.
Recently published an article where they looked at 22 high-profile bannings from 2015 and found 21 of them were only on one side of the cultural debate.
20, so they censored 20, according to Tim Pool reporting, which I respect. 20 of 21 tweets were banned because of a political ideology. And that dates back to 2015. You could say 100% of the tweets that supported a political ideology during 2020 were banned. Continue, Tim Pool.
But I don't look at the political spectrum of people when I'm looking at their tweets.
Right, you have a
I
bias.
don't know who they are.
You're biased, and you're targeting specific individuals because your rules support this perspective.
That's right. All right? You're biased. Thank you, Tim Pool. Thank you, Tim Pool.
No, I don't agree with that.
well,
and I
so
don't
Can you
think
be
that's the
clear, though,
case.
in like what rules support that perspective?
Specifically, the easiest one is misgendering, right? Because that's so clearly ideological. If you ask a conservative,
You can't mess with Tim Pool. Tim Pool's got a head like a computer. He remembers everything. You're not gonna get no gotcha with Tim Pool.
what is misgendering? They'll say if someone is biologically male and you call them, she, biologically male and you call them a she, that's misgendering. That's a conservative view. The progressive view is inverted. So now you actually have in your policies a rule against the conservative perspective.
Right? Now that's college level talk from Tim Pool. Vijaya Gadde is like, she can't get her head around that one. She's like, no. It's not biased. It's true. Right? No, what you're saying is true. The shit that you're talking about offends gay people. So we got to go to bat for, people that identify themselves as male or female or don't know what the hell they are.
I have a rule against the abuse and harassment of trans people on our platform. That's what my rules
Can we
against.
just give context in the background as to
and
why
the
that
why
is?
that is. And I brought some research. So we obviously received a
This is also the woman.
lot of feedback. So we don't make these rules in a vacuum, just to be clear. We have a bunch of people all around the world who give us context on the types of behavior they're seeing, how that translates into real world harm. And they give us feedback, and they tell us, you should consider different types of rules, different types of perspectives, different, for example, when we try to enforce hateful conduct in our hateful conduct policy in a particular country, we're not going to know all the slur words that are used to target people of a particular race or a particular religion. So we're going to rely on building out a team of experts all around the world who are going to help us enforce our rules. So in the particular case of misgendering, I'm just trying to pull up some of.
We're going to censor those words that we don't understand, that people in foreign countries may be using. They're slurs. it violates free speech. Let people speak. You're a fucking homo. Who cares what you say, you jackass? All right. What happened to the old days? Well, who cares? All right. Oh, you hurt my feelings. I got to sue you.
Of the studies that we looked at, but we looked at the American Association of Pediatrics and looked at the number of transgender youths that were committing suicide. It's an astronomical, I'm sorry, I can't find it right now in front of me. It's a really, really high statistic. That's like 10 times what the normal suicide rate is of normal teenagers. And we looked at the causes of what that was happening. And a lot of it was not just violence towards those individuals, but it was bullying behavior. And what were those bullying behaviors?
Yeah, what was those bullying behaviors? Let's find out. How were these people bullying a genre of people who kill themselves 10 times more than anybody else because they can't get a fucking handle on who they are? What qualifies as bullying? Let's find out.
That were contributing to that.
Let's find out.
And that's why we made this rule, because we thought and we believe that those types of behaviors were happening on our platform, and we wanted to stop it.
What are the behaviors? Can you be specific, please? What behavior gave you the right to shut somebody up on the belief that these people that kill themselves 10 times more, that the people speaking about them are responsible? It's ridiculous. Well, what's the evidence?
Now, there are exceptions to this rule. We don't.
You go nowhere with these people. You go absolutely nowhere. But Tim Pool did a great job at showing you the bias. Let's hear more from Tim Pool.
The rules you have are not based in U.S. law, right? U.S. law doesn't recognize restrictions on hate speech. It's considered free speech. So if you want to stand in a street corner and yell the craziest things in the world, you're allowed to.
Right. Okay. Is everybody clear on what free speech is in America? Tim Pool is going to explain it to you. This is what free speech means in America.
So let me ask you, the rules you have are not based in U.S. law, right? U.S. law doesn't recognize restrictions on hate speech. It's considered free speech. So if
Correct.
you want to stand in a street corner and yell the craziest things in the world, you're allowed to.
Right.
On your platform, Twitter, you're not allowed to. So even...
True. That is the truth. Free speech is not allowed on your platform. Let's see how they handle it.
In that sense alone, your rules do have an ideology behind them. I don't completely disagree. I think, I don't want harassment. But the reason I bring this up is getting into the discussion about democratic health of a nation. So I think it can't be disputed at this point that Twitter is extremely powerful in influencing elections. I'm pretty sure you guys published recently a bunch of tweets from foreign actors that were trying to meddle in elections. Mm-hmm. So even you as a company recognize that foreign entities are trying to manipulate people using this platform. Mm-hmm. So there's a few things I want to ask beyond this, but wouldn't it be important then to just... at a certain point, Twitter becomes so powerful in influencing elections and giving out.
I want to say one thing about foreign intervention in American elections. A lot of these think tanks set up in Tajikistan and in Uzbekistan, in Romania, in Brazil. These are, they're little think tanks that try to get some momentum to promote a political narrative in an American election. But don't kid yourself who's funding them, right? The money, the kids in Tajikistan, the fucking teenagers in Tajikistan don't give a rat's ass a shit and giggle about who wins an American election. They care about who's paying them to say it, right? They're hired guns. All these little organizations that, for the most part, are pay-for-play trolls, sometimes even funded by the very... Look, the FBI needs to prove that there's foreign intervention in our elections. You see? Look over there in Tajikistan. There's 600 kids in computers telling you that Hillary Clinton's a criminal. And who's paying them to do it? Maybe the FBI themselves, right? That becomes the example to use. See? Foreign intervention in our elections, shut it down. Right?
Access to even the...
Am I making it up? No.
The president's tweets, that you should allow people to use the platform based under the norms of U.S. law.
Yeah.
First Amendment, free speech, right to expression on the platform. This is becoming too much it's becoming too powerful in how our elections are taking place. So even if you are saying, well, hate speech is our rule and a lot of people agree with it, if at any point one person disagrees, there's still an American who has a right to this, to access to the public discourse. and you've essentially monopolized that, and not completely.
That's right. You have monopolized the public discourse. Tim Pool is spot on.
But for the most part. So isn't there some responsibility on you to guarantee, at a certain extent, less regulation happen, right? Like, look, if you recognize foreign governments are manipulating our elections, then shouldn't you guarantee the right to an American to access this platform, to be involved in the electoral process?
I'm not sure I see the
Duh. Let Americans speak openly if there's misinformation floating around. Don't shut them up so that all you hear is misinformation. It's so obvious.
the tie between those things. But I will address one of your points, which was we're a platform that serves the world. So we're a global. 75% of
So Vijaya Gadde tells you, oh yeah, we're global, so we don't really follow we're an American company, and we made our wealth on the backs of Americans tweeting, and we're situated in San Francisco, wherever the fuck you are, in America, on American soil, but we don't follow the First Amendment because our reach is global. So I know you're an American and you have a right to free speech in your own backyard, but you need to shut the fuck up because our audience is global, and we're going to create a global sense of rules, a global, set of rules that we can censor you under.
the users of Twitter are outside of the United States.
Oh, no, right.
So we don't apply laws of just one country when we're thinking about it. We think about
We apply the laws that are most convenient for us. We don't look at the laws. Those are just inconveniences. We don't look at the law. You remember what the law used to mean? When you break the law, there's a consequence to it. We don't look at those laws. Constitution, no, we don't. We don't look at that. We look at something else. We have a more sophisticated, global perspective on what's going on.
how do you have a global standard that
Global
can
standard.
meet the threshold of as many countries as possible, because we want all the people in the world to be able
The answer, Vijay, is stay out of it. That's how you do it. You stay out of the discourse and let people speak. Give people the platform to speak on, and it'll take care of itself. Right? AKA a free society.
to participate in this conversation.
And also meet elections like the Indian election coming up as well.
Right. And
Yeah.
my understanding is you were also accused of being biased against conservatives in India recently. There was a report on that, as well as you held up a sign that said something offensive about the Brahmin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in that sense, even in other countries, you're accused of the same things that you're being accused of by American conservatives.
I think that the situations are very, very different. And I don't think that
You see how the bias kicks in? You see how bias kicks in at the top level, right? It's not just the FBI putting the boot on our throat. She believes it in her heart of hearts. She really believes it. I know she's a lawyer. I know she's a paid liar. But for the most part, you gather when you watch these people, is they believe it. They're like, no. Election interference. Yeah, we got to stop that. The Russians are hacking the election. We can't let them do that. We can't let them decide our democracy.
the ideologies in play are the same at all.
Well, so the reason I bring
Can we
up...
clarify that? Because I'm not aware of the case.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but we did have our Vice President of Public Policy testify in front of Indian Parliament a couple of weeks ago, and they were really focused on election integrity and safety and abuse.
So let's keep it moving. What else Tim Pool got for us?
restricts speech,
Our platform promotes speech unless people violate our rules
and in a specific direction.
in any direction.
This is a Fox News alert. Elon Musk has provided Matt Taibbi of Substack with apparently thousands and thousands of internal documents. Those documents prove, among other things, that the Biden campaign and the DNC directed Twitter to censor users, and Twitter complied.
All confirmed now. No longer conspiracy theory. Confirmed.
Kind of funny, ain't it? The laptop they tried to hide from us all now threatens to topple the entire house of cards, almost giving new meaning to the Streisand effect. So, here is a quick rundown. Elon Musk partnered with journalist Matt Taibbi to release thousands of
Okay, we already know that. Let's keep it moving. What does this guy have to say?
Round of information being released about decisions made by executives at Twitter. Those decisions include details about blocking content and users like former President Donald Trump. National correspondent Christine Frizzell has the story.
Please.
Mounting questions about the inner workings at the social media giant Twitter. New CEO Elon Musk tweeting about prosecuting Dr. Anthony Fauci and teasing there's much more to come on what some call suppression of factual information on the site about COVID-19. This following the fourth installment of the so-called Twitter files, detailing the decision to permanently ban then-President Donald Trump in the aftermath of the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Journalist Michael Schellenberger reporting that the next day, Twitter executives created justifications to ban Trump, expressing no concern for free speech, suggesting that those in charge were overwhelmingly progressive, citing communications from former head of trust and safety at Twitter, Yoel Roth, who wrote, "In this specific case, we're changing our public interest approach for his account."
We changed our rules for his account. We're censoring Trump. We changed the rules. Fuck you, Trump.
Say any violation would result in suspension. Some now suggesting it's evidence former CEO Jack Dorsey, who was on vacation while these changes occurred, lied under oath back in 2018 when asked to respond to quotes about Twitter's practices.
Social media is being rigged to censor conservatives. Is that true of Twitter?
No.
I don't know what Twitter is up to. It sure looks like...
Now, we know that not to be true. We know that Twitter is, in fact, censoring. In Tim Pool's reporting, 20 out of 21 tweets that are censored are conservative Republican, one side of the political spectrum. So he did lie. Let's hear him lie again. Let's hear him lie again at the Congress.
These changes occurred, lied under oath back in 2018 when asked to respond to quotes about Twitter's practices.
This is Jack Dorsey, by the way, the former CEO for Twitter.
Social media is being rigged to censor conservatives. Is that true of Twitter?
No.
I don't know what
No.
Twitter is up to. It sure looks like to me that they're censoring people, and they ought to stop it. Are you censoring people?
No.
Are you censoring people? That is a very, very broad question being asked to the CEO of Twitter. Are you censoring people? And he says no. But now you have so much evidence that he's telling you we throttle certain viewpoints to protect people from what they perceive as harmful speech. It's all a lie, right? He's out in front of. There'll be no consequence to what Jack Dorsey did, unless the Republicans get off their ass because they control the House now.
Testimony was more than 2 years before Trump was banned.
What else you got? I'm going to go. Let's listen to Tucker Carlson for a
Last
second.
Friday night with the release of those previously undisclosed
harmful
documents from Twitter.
speech.
It's not
It's all
that
lie,
social
right? It's
media
all-
companies censor conservatives. Obviously, we knew that. No one's surprised to have it confirmed. No one denied it in the first place. No, what we learned on Friday is that big tech works aggressively and in secret with government agencies to subvert the outcome of what the rest of us assumed were free and fair elections.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. Tucker Carlson gets it. The big picture is that government put their boot on the throat of the 2020 election. That, my friends, is inescapable. Let's look at the markets. Oh, ding, 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 we're open. We are open. S&P 500 up 19. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 135. NASDAQ up 45. Go, 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 America. Greed is good. Let's see. Dow Jones, look at the big board. Apple up 85 cents. Bang. Zoom 146 a share. Amazon up 93 and 11. Up 64 cents to 93. Google. Meta. Microsoft. All the big tech is up right now. Tesla getting a little hammered. The leadership of Elon Musk getting a little hammered in light of the FTX scandal with cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's up 173 right now. Pfizer, the war stocks, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, all up, all in the green. The providers of the holy vaccine, the stock, the companies that bring you the the virus, the vaccine that keeps you safe and happy and 6 feet away and builds your immunological up, all up right now. Look at that. Look at that. It's good to be a vaccine company. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, all up. Fairly, Moderna's up $2.50 today because they've advanced the vaccine rhetoric. They got a cancer vaccine, you heard? Moderna has a vaccine that will keep you away from cancer, they say. So anyway, that's all I got today. That was a lot. I jammed a lot in a little area, man. So, but I hope that was helpful. Again, takeaway, man. I look. I'm an American. I live here in America, and I'm a guy who, follows politics on a daily basis, like you do too, and I'm saddened by my country. I'm saddened by this overt interference at the top in our elections, because I think that people are very, very capable of picking their own representatives and their own and plotting their own direction, more so than any government, pay for play fucking entity. Marcus Conte reporting.